Hey, history explorers and mystery enthusiasts. Today, we're diving into a truly unsettling historical enigma that sounds like something straight out of a gothic horror novel. Imagine this. You're renovating an ancient cathedral, or perhaps an old, centuries-old house. And as you peel back layers of plaster and stone, you stumble upon a hidden cavity. Inside you find a mummified cat. Not just a skeleton, but a perfectly preserved, dried-out feline, intentionally placed within the very walls of the building. Creepy, right? But here's the kicker. This isn't an isolated incident. This bizarre discovery has been made countless times across Europe, leading to a chilling question. Why did medieval builders hide living cats inside walls? Before we delve into the dark heart of this mystery, do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and if this video sends shivers down your spine, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your engagement helps us unearth more of history's most peculiar secrets. The idea of entombing an animal, especially a living one, within a structure is deeply disturbing to our modern sensibilities. It conjures images of cruelty and dark rituals, but for centuries, this practice was a widespread, albeit secretive, tradition. While the popular narrative often focuses on cathedrals, the truth is, these concealed creatures have been found in all sorts of buildings, from humble cottages to grand manor houses. The question isn't if it happened, but why? What drove people to commit such an act? And what did they believe these hidden felines would accomplish? Was it a desperate plea for protection, a dark sacrifice, or something else entirely? Get ready to explore the fascinating and often disturbing world of concealed cats and the ancient beliefs that shape their fate. To understand why anyone would intentionally conceal a cat or any object within a building, we need to delve into the ancient concept of apotropaic magic. This isn't some dark evil sorcery, but rather a form of protective magic, a belief system aimed at warding off evil, misfortune, and malevolent spirits. For centuries, across various cultures, people have sought ways to safeguard their homes, their families, and their livelihoods from unseen threats. Apotropaic practices often involve the use of specific objects, symbols, or rituals believed to possess protective powers. These could range from simple markings on doorways to more elaborate hidden charms. The idea was to create a spiritual barrier, a kind of magical shield that would deflect negative energies and ensure the well-being of the inhabitants and the stability of the structure itself. In medieval and early modern Europe, where life was often harsh and unpredictable, and the natural world was filled with perceived dangers, both seen and unseen, the belief in such protective magic was deeply ingrained. People lived in a world where disease, famine, and sudden death were constant threats, and they often attributed these misfortunes to supernatural forces like witches, demons, or the evil eye. Therefore, any means of protection, even those that seem strange to us today, was eagerly embraced. Concealed objects, also known as deposits or foundation sacrifices, were a common manifestation of apotropaic magic in building practices. The act of placing an object within the fabric of a new building was believed to imbue the structure with protective qualities from its very inception. It was a way to consecrate the space, to make it safe from malevolent influences that might seek to enter or disrupt the harmony of the home. This belief system wasn't limited to cats. Other objects commonly found concealed in old buildings include shoes, witch bottles containing pins, hair and urine, horse skulls, and even dried birds. Each item was chosen for its symbolic properties and its perceived ability to counteract specific threats. The cat, however, held a special place in this pantheon of protective objects due to its unique characteristics and its long-standing association with both the mundane and the mystical. Among the various objects used in apotropaic magic, cats held a particularly prominent and enduring role. Their unique characteristics and their long-standing relationship with humans made them ideal candidates for protective charms. But why cats specifically? What ancient beliefs elevated them to the status of guardians within the very fabric of a building? Firstly, cats were revered for their nocturnal habits and their keen senses. They were creatures of the night, able to see in the dark and move silently, making them natural hunters of vermin like rats and mice. This practical ability to protect food stores and prevent structural damage from pests likely contributed to their mystical association with protection. If a cat could ward off physical threats, perhaps it could also ward off spiritual ones. Beyond their practical utility, cats were often associated with the supernatural and the liminal. Their mysterious nature, their independent spirit, and their seemingly aloof demeanor led many cultures to believe they possessed a connection to the spirit world. In ancient Egypt, cats were deified, associated with goddesses like Bastet, who represented protection, fertility, and the home. While not deified in Europe, echoes of this reverence persisted. In European folklore, cats were often seen as possessing a sixth sense, an ability to perceive unseen entities or dangers. They were believed to be sensitive to malevolent spirits and could act as a first line of defense against them. By concealing a cat within a building, it was thought that its spirit, or its inherent protective qualities, would remain tethered to the structure, constantly vigilant against evil influences. Furthermore, the act of placing a cat, particularly a mummified one, was sometimes seen as a form of sympathetic magic. The cat, in its preserved state, would eternally stand guard, its essence perpetually protecting the home. It was a permanent sentinel, a silent guardian against the unseen forces that threatened the well-being of the inhabitants. This deep-seated belief in the cat as a powerful protector, both in the physical and spiritual realms, made it a prime choice for these hidden rituals, solidifying its place as a silent, furry guardian within the walls of countless historical buildings. The practice of concealing cats and other apotropaic objects was not confined to humble dwellings. While many discoveries have been made in domestic settings like cottages and farmhouses, this tradition also extended to more significant structures, including grand manor houses, public buildings, and most notably, cathedrals and churches. This widespread adoption underscores the deep-seated nature of these beliefs across all strata of society. For builders of cathedrals and churches, the stakes were arguably even higher. These were not just homes, they were sacred spaces, meant to be enduring monuments to faith and power. Protecting them from malevolent forces, both spiritual and physical, was paramount. The construction of a cathedral was a monumental undertaking, spanning decades or even centuries, and involving immense resources and labor. Ensuring its sanctity and longevity would have been a primary concern for its architects and patrons. In these grand structures, concealed cats and other charms were often placed in strategic locations, near entrances, in foundations, within walls, or even in the roof spaces. These were considered vulnerable points where evil might try to enter, or where the building's integrity could be compromised. The act of placing these protective items was often part of a ritual, performed during key stages of construction to bless and safeguard the edifice. The discovery of mummified cats in cathedrals, though less common than in domestic buildings, is particularly striking. It suggests that even within the highly formalized and Christianized context of church building, older, pagan-rooted beliefs in protective magic persisted. These practices likely existed alongside official religious ceremonies, representing a folk tradition that provided an additional layer of spiritual security. While the specific motivations might have varied, from warding off witches and evil spirits to ensuring the building's structural stability and prosperity, the underlying principle remained the same: to harness the protective power of the concealed item. The fact that such a peculiar practice found its way into the very heart of religious architecture speaks volumes about the pervasive influence of superstition and folklore in the lives of medieval and early modern people, regardless of their social standing or the sacred nature of their constructions. This is perhaps the most unsettling question surrounding the practice of concealed cats. Were they intentionally entombed alive? The popular imagination, fueled by Gothic tales and urban legends, often leans towards this gruesome possibility. The thought of a living creature being walled up, slowly perishing, is undeniably horrific. However, historical and archaeological evidence suggests a more nuanced, though still grim, reality. The vast majority of concealed cats discovered have been found naturally mummified. This process occurs when a body is placed in a dry, airless environment, such as a wall cavity, where decomposition is inhibited. The cat essentially dries out rather than decaying, preserving its form. Many of these mummified cats are found in poses that suggest they were already dead when placed. Some are curled up as if asleep. Others appear to have been carefully positioned. There are even instances where cats are found with their necks broken or other signs of a quick death, indicating they were killed just before concealment. This would align with the idea of a ritual sacrifice, where the animal's life force was offered to protect the building, but without prolonged suffering. That being said, the possibility of some cats being walled up alive cannot be entirely dismissed. Historical records and folklore sometimes hint at such extreme practices, particularly in more desperate or fervent acts of protection. However, it's important to distinguish between widespread practice and isolated, extreme instances. The primary goal was the protective power of the cat, not necessarily its suffering. It's also worth noting that the term living cats in the title of this video is often used to grab attention, playing on the most shocking interpretation of the practice. While some might have been alive, the evidence points more strongly to cats that were already deceased or quickly dispatched before being placed in their final protective resting places. Regardless of whether they were alive or dead at the moment of concealment, the practice remains a powerful and somewhat disturbing testament to the depth of ancient beliefs and the lengths to which people would go to protect their homes and sacred spaces. While cats are perhaps the most famous, and certainly the most unsettling, of the concealed objects found in old buildings, they were by no means the only items used in apotropaic magic. The variety of objects discovered speaks to the diverse beliefs and specific threats people sought to ward off. These hidden deposits offer a fascinating glimpse into the everyday superstitions and protective rituals of past societies. One of the most common concealed items, even more so than cats, are old shoes, often found singly or in pairs, typically in chimneys, under floorboards, or within walls. Shoes were believed to ward off evil. The theory is that the shoe, having taken on the shape and scent of its owner, could act as a decoy, attracting evil spirits away from the inhabitants. Alternatively, the shoe, particularly an old, worn one, might symbolize the journey of life and offer protection to those within the home. Another intriguing discovery is the witch bottle. These are typically glass bottles, often filled with a variety of objects like pins, nails, hair, urine, and sometimes even fingernail clippings. The idea was that the witch bottle would trap and neutralize malevolent magic or curses, effectively acting as a counter-charm. The sharp objects inside were thought to prick and deter evil spirits, while the organic materials would bind the spell to the bottle. Horse skulls are another recurring find, particularly in older agricultural buildings. These were often placed in foundations or under hearths, believed to bring good luck, fertility, and protect livestock. The horse, being a powerful and valuable animal, was seen as a potent symbol of prosperity and protection. Even more mundane items like old clothing, coins, and even written charms have been found. Each item, no matter how seemingly insignificant, was placed with intention, imbued with a specific protective purpose by the people who built and lived in these structures. These concealed objects collectively paint a rich picture of a world where the boundaries between the physical and spiritual were fluid, and where every home was a fortress against the unseen forces of the world. The practice of concealing cats and other apotropaic objects, while widespread for centuries, eventually began to wane. This decline wasn't sudden, but a gradual process influenced by shifting societal beliefs, the rise of scientific understanding, and changes in building practices. One of the primary factors was the slow but steady erosion of belief in the supernatural forces that these charms were meant to ward off. As the Enlightenment progressed and scientific thought gained traction, explanations for misfortune began to shift from malevolent spirits and witches to more rational, observable causes like disease, poor sanitation, or structural flaws. The need for magical protection diminished as people began to understand and control their environment through scientific means. Changes in building construction also played a role. Older buildings, often constructed with timber frames and less precise masonry, had numerous cavities and voids where objects could be easily concealed. As building techniques evolved, with more solid construction and tighter seals, the opportunities for hiding such items became fewer and far between. The traditional spaces for these deposits simply ceased to exist in newer constructions. Furthermore, the increasing urbanization and industrialization of society led to a decline in rural folk traditions. As people moved from close-knit village communities to bustling cities, some of the older superstitions and rituals began to fade. The direct connection to the land and its perceived magical properties, which often underpinned these beliefs, weakened. While the practice largely died out by the late 19th and early 20th centuries, echoes of it can still be found in some modern superstitions, like placing a horseshoe above a door for good luck. The discovery of concealed cats and other objects in renovated buildings continues to fascinate us, serving as a tangible link to a time when the unseen world held immense power over daily life. It reminds us that humanity's relationship with magic, superstition, and the unknown is a constantly evolving narrative, leaving behind curious artifacts for future generations to ponder. Despite the decline of the practice, concealed cats and other apotropaic objects continue to be discovered in old buildings to this day. These finds are often made during renovations, demolitions, or archaeological surveys, providing invaluable insights into the beliefs and daily lives of past generations. Each discovery is a tangible link to a hidden world of superstition and protective magic. Archaeologists and building historians meticulously document these finds, noting their location, the type of object, and any associated artifacts. This systematic approach helps to build a clearer picture of the geographical spread of these practices, the types of buildings where they were most common, and the specific periods in which they flourished. For instance, the majority of concealed cat finds in Britain date from the 17th to the 19th centuries, though earlier examples exist. These discoveries often spark public interest, bringing these forgotten traditions back into the spotlight. Museums frequently acquire and display mummified cats and other concealed objects, allowing the public to see firsthand these strange relics of the past. These exhibits serve not only to educate, but also to provoke thought about the human need for security and the diverse ways in which people have sought to achieve it. Modern scientific techniques, such as radiocarbon dating, can help to pinpoint the age of the organic materials found, providing a more precise timeline for the practice. Forensic analysis can sometimes shed light on how the animals died, helping to answer the unsettling question of whether they were alive at the time of concealment. While definitive answers are not always possible, each new discovery adds another piece to the puzzle. The ongoing unearthing of these hidden charms reminds us that our built environment is not just a collection of bricks and mortar. It is imbued with the beliefs, fears, and hopes of those who constructed and inhabited it. These concealed objects are silent witnesses to centuries of human endeavor, offering a unique and often eerie glimpse into the hidden layers of history that lie beneath our very feet. Many of the cats found concealed in walls are not simply skeletons. They are remarkably well preserved, naturally mummified specimens. This phenomenon, while seemingly mysterious, is a testament to specific environmental conditions within the wall cavities of old buildings. Understanding the science behind natural mummification helps to explain why these finds are so common and often so intact. Natural mummification occurs when a body, whether human or animal, is exposed to conditions that prevent the normal process of decomposition. Decomposition is primarily caused by bacteria and fungi which thrive in warm, moist, and oxygen-rich environments. When these conditions are absent, the body dries out rapidly, preserving its tissues. Wall cavities in older buildings often provide ideal conditions for natural mummification. They are typically dry, dark, and have limited airflow, creating an anaerobic, low-oxygen environment. The constant temperature and lack of humidity within these enclosed spaces inhibit the growth of microorganisms that cause decay. Instead, the body loses its moisture and the tissues become desiccated, effectively turning the corpse into a dried, leathery form. This process explains why many of the concealed cats are found in such remarkably preserved states, sometimes even with fur and whiskers intact. It also suggests that the builders, whether intentionally or not, were creating conditions conducive to this preservation. While the primary intention was apotropaic protection, the scientific outcome was often a perfectly preserved relic of their beliefs. It's important to distinguish natural mummification from intentional mummification, such as that practiced by the ancient Egyptians. The Egyptians used elaborate processes involving evisceration, salting, and wrapping to preserve their dead. The cats found in walls, however, are a result of passive preservation, a fortunate or unfortunate, depending on your perspective, consequence of their placement in a specific microenvironment. This scientific explanation doesn't diminish the historical significance or the eerie nature of these finds. but it does provide a rational understanding of how these ancient protective charms have survived for centuries. While the primary explanation for concealed cats often revolves around apotropaic magic and spiritual protection, a more pragmatic theory also exists. The idea that cats were placed in walls to deter vermin. This theory suggests a practical, rather than purely superstitious, motive behind the practice. Cats are natural predators of rodents like mice and rats, which have historically been a major problem in buildings, causing structural damage, contaminating food, and spreading disease. The presence of a cat, even a dead one, might have been believed to deter these pests. The scent of a cat, or even the psychological impact of finding a cat, alive or dead, in a wall, could potentially make a building less appealing to rodents. Some proponents of this theory suggest that the cats were placed as a form of pest control, either as a direct deterrent or as a symbolic one. If a cat was known to be a good hunter, its spirit, or even its physical remains, might have been thought to continue its work of keeping the building free from vermin. This aligns with the idea of sympathetic magic, but with a more tangible, practical outcome. However, there are arguments against this being the sole or primary reason. If the goal was purely pest control, why would the cats be concealed within walls where they couldn't actively hunt? A living cat would be far more effective. Also, the meticulous placement of some cats, often in ritualistic poses or alongside other apotropaic objects, suggests a purpose beyond simple pest management. It's more likely that the vermin theory and the apotropaic magic theory are not mutually exclusive. In a pre-scientific era, the practical benefits of cats, pest control, could easily have intertwined with their mystical associations, spiritual protection. A cat that kept a home free of rats might also be seen as a protector against unseen evils. The two beliefs could have reinforced each other, making the concealed cat a multi-purpose charm. Ultimately, while the practical aspect of pest control might have played a role, the overwhelming evidence points to a strong belief in the cat's supernatural protective powers as the dominant motivation. The vermin theory offers a rational counterpoint, but it often falls short in explaining the ritualistic nature and widespread symbolic context of these fascinating historical finds. The story of concealed cats and other apotropaic objects is a powerful testament to the enduring influence of folklore and superstition in human societies. Even as scientific understanding advanced, these deeply ingrained beliefs continue to shape practices, particularly in areas related to home and hearth, where a sense of security and well-being was paramount. Folklore, passed down through generations, often serves as a repository of collective wisdom, fears, and coping mechanisms. In times when scientific explanations for misfortune were scarce, people turned to magical thinking to make sense of the world and exert some control over their lives. The idea that a hidden charm could protect one's home from unseen dangers provided comfort and a sense of agency in an unpredictable world. The persistence of these practices, even in the face of changing religious and scientific paradigms, highlights the deep human need for ritual and meaning. The act of concealing an object, often performed in secret, was a personal and powerful gesture, a silent prayer for protection embedded within the very structure of one's dwelling. It was a way to imbue the inanimate with life and purpose, transforming a mere building into a sanctuary. Even today, echoes of these ancient beliefs can be found in modern superstitions. Knocking on wood, throwing salt over one's shoulder, or carrying a lucky charm are all remnants of apotropaic thinking. While we may not consciously believe in evil spirits or witches, these rituals provide a sense of comfort and control, connecting us to a long lineage of human attempts to influence fate. The concealed cats, therefore, are not just archaeological curiosities. They are tangible manifestations of the enduring power of human belief. They remind us that the human mind is wired for storytelling, for finding meaning in the mundane, and for seeking protection against the unknown. They are a fascinating bridge between the rational and the mystical, revealing how deeply intertwined these two aspects of the human experience have always been. The discovery of concealed cats and other apotropaic objects within the walls of old buildings offers us a profound glimpse into the minds and beliefs of people from centuries past. These hidden secrets are more than just oddities. They are powerful historical artifacts that reveal a world vastly different from our own, yet connected by enduring human concerns. Firstly, they highlight the pervasive role of superstition and folklore in daily life. For our ancestors, the world was often a mysterious and dangerous place, filled with unseen forces that could bring both good and ill fortune. Protective magic was not a fringe belief, but a common, practical response to an unpredictable environment. These hidden charms were a way to exert some control, to feel safer in their homes and communities. Secondly, these finds underscored the deep connection between humans and animals, particularly cats. Beyond their practical utility as pest controllers, cats were clearly imbued with significant symbolic power. They were seen as guardians, sensitive to the spiritual realm, and capable of defending against malevolent entities. This reverence for cats, while expressed in a way that seems bizarre to us, speaks to a long-standing bond and a recognition of their unique qualities. Thirdly, the practice reminds us of the continuity of human desires. The need for security, prosperity, and protection for one's home and the family is timeless. While our methods have changed dramatically, the underlying impulse to safeguard what we value remains. From ancient charms to modern security systems, the quest for peace of mind endures. Finally, these hidden secrets challenge our modern assumptions about rationality and progress. They force us to confront the fact that our ancestors were not simply ignorant or irrational. They operated within a different framework of understanding the world. Their beliefs, however strange they may seem, were logical within their own context. By studying these practices, we gain a deeper appreciation for the complexity of human history and the diverse ways in which people have sought to navigate their existence. So, the next time you walk past an old building, remember the hidden stories within its walls. Remember the cats, the shoes, and the witch bottles, silent sentinels guarding against unseen threats. They are a powerful testament to the enduring human spirit, its fears, its hopes, and its fascinating, often bizarre attempts to shape its own destiny. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the hidden history of concealed cats. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold stories from the past.